Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How we looking, Fox? Podium mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We good. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Are we good? Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and we're here today at the Metropolitan Police Department's Joint Operation Command Center. We call it the JOC. I am joined by the council's chairman, Phil Mendelson, our chief of police and host, Chief Pamela Smith, City Administrator Kevin Donahue, Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice, Deputy Mayor Lindsay Appiah, the Director of the Office of Labor Relations and Collective Bargaining, Lindsay Maxwell, and the President of the University of the District of Columbia, Maurice Eddington. So today, Chairman Mendelson and I are proud to stand with this team to announce a new labor agreement between the District of Columbia and the DC Fraternal Order of the Police. Last week, at my situational update, I described how we have experienced a decline in MPD sworn officers over the past decade. There are a number of causes we talked about briefly, including a retirement bubble of some years ago, changes to our public safety ecosystem and funding changes. And in recent years, there has been steeper competition for hiring police officers. And since I have been mayor in the last 10 years, it has been my priority to ensure that we're hiring the best of the best, that we are retaining the officers that we need to keep DC safe. And we've always believed that getting back to 4,000 officers is our goal. So currently, we have a lot of room to grow our department. This year, we've hired 135 new recruits and welcomed 124 cadets into our pipeline. And we need to add hundreds more police. We're currently at 3,188 sworn officers. These numbers, our recruit numbers, reflect our ongoing commitment to building a strong and well-supported police force and a department that doesn't need to rely so heavily on overtime. And we know that our police, including their willingness to work overtime, are keeping our city safe and driving down crime. But we owe it to them and to all of the communities of Washington, D.C. to ensure that we have the number of people that we need. Having a strong MPD contract reflects our commitment to competitive compensation. So this agreement delivers a 13% pay increase for our officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and above, which will begin October 1st of this year. Chairman Mendelson, I want to thank you for agreeing to move emergency legislation at the council's September 17th meeting to approve this pay adjustment. For officers, your retroactive pay increases for that apply. We will work very hard, and the officers will know what I mean when I say this, to get all of our internal processings done, updated, and correct so that we can begin issuing those retroactive payments by mid-December. These pay increases are part of a larger comprehensive strategy to recruit and retain and reward our officers. We will also be moving to significantly expand our take-home vehicle access program for officers who are DC residents. We currently have 160 take-home cars, and we want to expand that program by 100 cars. We are also strengthening our partnership with UDC to help our officers and their academy time count as a university credit. And I want to thank President Eddington, and I especially want to acknowledge and thank Chief Smith, who has worked with Councilmember Brooke Pinto, who included this provision in her Peace DC legislation that passed the council earlier this year. And we look forward to working with President Eddington and the UDC board to finalize this program. Today, I will also be issuing a statement of administrative policy related to another bill that's currently at the council that relates to what is called a drop program for police officers and firefighters. And this is another retention tool to keep our police officers and firefighters on the force beyond their retirement age. We will be asking the council to include other provisions to drop that's currently at the council, including removing the mandatory retirement age and expanding the senior police officer program to include lieutenants. We're going to keep listening to our officers, working with the council. We know that with all of the things that I just announced, that partnership with the council is incredibly important. We're going to make sure that Washington, D.C. is the best big city to be a police officer. And this is work that we're committed to doing together. So I want to end by saying thank you to the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department and to you, Chief, for your leadership. They have a challenging job in normal circumstances. They've had an even more challenging job in the last weeks. They played an important role in driving down crime, not just over the last 2 weeks, but especially over the last 2 years. And we are so grateful for their work. So with that, I want to turn to Chairman Mendelson, and then we'll hear from Chief Smith, Dr. Eddington, and we'll be able to answer a few questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning. So I want to echo everything that the mayor has just said about what our policy goals are here and what we are trying to accomplish with regard to public safety. I think the main message here is that the government of the District of Columbia cares deeply about public safety. We want to improve public safety, and we're looking for different strategies that will help with regard to improving public safety in the District of Columbia. I want to say that the challenge of the number of officers that we have in our force is not unique to the district. We see that with every police department in this region, and we see it with police departments across the country. And there are many different police departments in this region, as you know, and they're all struggling with recruitment. So we're looking for tools that will improve our hiring ability. The current recruit class, as I understand it, is slightly higher, a little bit higher than what it has been traditionally for the last several years. That's a good thing. That's a trend that we want to see grow. So we're looking for different incentives. This contract is important, and I just want to confirm what the mayor has said, which is that I will be presenting this contract to the council when we come back on September 17th, which I think is 2 weeks from now. I expect that the council will approve the contract. This is a different council than what we had in 2020. It's actually a different society across the country with regard toward its attitudes about public safety, and I fully expect that the council will be approving this contract on the 17th so that it can be implemented as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Chief.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mayor Bowser and Chairman Mendelson. Today's announcement is a welcomed news for the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department who deserve our greater appreciation for the work they do around the clock with keeping our city safe. Over the last 2 years as Chief of Police, I've said time and time again that I'm always impressed by our members' dedication and service. Every day, no matter what the challenge is, they rise to meet the occasion and they rise to meet the moment. The crime reductions we have seen over the last 2 years speak to their efforts. I'm happy that our members will be receiving a pay increase for the job they do, often risking themselves, protecting others. While this collective bargaining contract agreement is welcome news, we can also help our members by increasing the size of our workforce. We currently have 3,188 sworn members, and we know that we need at least 500 additional officers to meet our current staffing needs. We also know the market is highly competitive. The need to recruit officers is a challenge that agencies across the country are facing, and we continue to take the steps necessary to grow our department. I'd like to thank President Eddington, as we are in discussions with the University of District of Columbia to help support prospective officers, offering a reduced requirement in college credit hours to applicants, but still ensuring that they have the credit hours necessary to become police officers. There is a reason why college credit hours are required. However, we are not eliminating that requirement, but we are offering additional incentives to achieve that. The announcement of the collective bargaining agreement, the college credit incentives, as well as a take-home vehicle program will make our agency one of the most competitive in the region. If you know anyone interested in a career of service with the Metropolitan Police Department, please have them contact us. Visit joinmpd.dc.gov for more information on how to begin the application process. I also want to take a moment just to thank our recruitment team for the work they do to recruit officers from around the country. Our recruiters are hosting events at universities and military installations across the country. And I'd also like to thank our friends at UDC for their partnership. Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Thank you, Chairman Mendelson, for this great announcement today.
Thank you, Chief.
Dr. Eddington.
Thank you. Good morning. I just want to express my high level of enthusiasm and thanks to Chief Smith, Madam Mayor, Chairman Mendelson. The University of the District of Columbia is very excited to play a role in helping the district in its efforts to retain officers. And as you heard, we are finalizing a partnership with MPD that will allow officers in the academy to receive what we call credit for prior learning. So some of the training and educational experiences that they receive while they're in the academy can be applied towards the credit hour requirement. And so what this will do is hopefully help the MPD be more attractive in its retention efforts. And so as president, we are very excited to continue to strengthen our role as the district's safety partner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So those are our key recruitment and retention announcements today for MPD, and we look forward to working with the council in the weeks ahead. And we can answer a few questions. Any questions? Yes.
On the 13%, is that phased in?
On the 13th?
The 13%,
Oh.
is that phased in over 3 years as it's laid out in the auditor's ruling?
Well, it covers fiscal years 24, 25, and 26. So when you add those together, it starts on October 1, all of them. So it's a 13% raise on October 1. And when I say October 1, that means everything and all our systems, IT systems, personnel systems, financial systems, working exactly right, so we can begin on October 1st.
And then are there any changes as a result of this in the disciplinary process that the union have been asking for?
This affects the CBA only. Any other questions? Yes.
I'd like to ask the chairman of the council, you just said a moment ago that this is a different council than we had in 2020. Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what you mean by that? Because the council and the legislation that it passed in the wake of George Floyd has been criticized more recently for its liberal laws. What did you mean when you said this is a different council? And if you would step to the mic.
You don't want me to speak off mic, Tom? I mean, you're familiar with this. There's been a lot of criticism about what the council did or allegedly did back in 2020, defunding, which we didn't do, but defunding, getting police out of schools. There were a lot of criticisms, and the council's just not there. As you know, in the last, this year, but last year as well, we've passed a number of public safety bills. We've made some changes to the law, and we've done it without the disagreement or the acrimony that you saw in 2020.
Chairman Mendelson, if you could go back to the mic, sorry. Continuing on what Tom was asking
This is the
about.
mayor's press conference, but fine.
Co-equal branch of government. I mean,
Absolutely.
We can take some questions also. You've been gone for a bit. So speaking about this being a different council, one thing that the council did do, which has been severely criticized by the police union especially, is this comprehensive police and I think justice safety bill, I forget the full name, but police reform bill that limited the ability of the union to actually negotiate on discipline. Now, they've been pushing, and Congress has been pushing to congressional Republicans to get that repealed fully. Is that something you would be considering moving forward in the council? Do you think there's appetite for that, or do you think that still is a justified action that the council made back in 2020?
My answer is no, but there were other provisions in the law, such as chokeholds and vehicular pursuit, some issues with regard to transparency, and those have been addressed or largely addressed. So those are other examples.
Yes. Did you have a follow-up?
That wasn't particularly clear. Like, do you want to repeal the provision of the law that limits? Oh, you said no. Okay, good.
Good morning, Felicia Ashley, ABC 7. You all have mentioned the goal or the key number here is 500 officers, and this seems like this may be something to help get us there. Is your hope hearing the work that's being done right now to continue gaining officers would have a role in some of the federal surge we're seeing possibly back off with the city now putting in extra steps to get the officers that we want?
Well, let me be clear. We've been on a path to rebuilding our police numbers for the last 10 years. And we have had years where we have had higher recruitment than attrition when we were addressing the retirement bubble. We put in place housing incentives, signing bonuses, and everything should be on the table in terms of how we increase the number of officers we have. So absent any federal action, we need to add to our police numbers so that we can relieve our officers of the demands of overtime that they're currently experiencing. That they do, and they do willingly, because they know when the chief calls on them to deploy them and they're needed, they show up. But from a management perspective, certainly that's not the most efficient way for us to run a police department. So we want to make sure that we're adding the officers that we need. Yep.
Can you give us an update regarding overtime use since the federal surge? I know last time you were asked about it with your update. And then a follow-up, I know you released your mayor's order, and I think last time we talked to you, you had mentioned, we're working on something, but there's been a lot of questions about there's no timeline, like an end date to it, and if there's anything that you want to say about that, why it was written in this manner.
Sure. So let me start with your last question first. And I have to say that there seems, I think the last time I was with you, I had a similar, trying to make sure that we have the record straight on what we communicated in the mayor's order. And I have to say that there was a Washington Post headline that circulated that was simply false. I went back, I reread that order, and then the hundreds of words that were in that order, there was no mention of welcome or welcoming. So that headline was false. And sadly, I think it was intentionally misleading. Let me tell you without equivocation that the mayor's order does not extend the Trump emergency. In fact, it does the exact opposite. What it does is lays out a framework for how we will exit the emergency. The emergency ends on September 10th. The only way it can be extended legally is by the Congress. So I want the message to be clear to the Congress. We have a framework to request or use federal resources in our city. We don't need a presidential emergency. Yep. Sure.
That's pretty strong language. To
It's
say
accurate.
that the Washington Post
Yep.
intentionally had a misleading headline.
It was misleading.
Can you expand on that? I mean,
I've
that's
said all I need to say, Mark. If they say that we were issued a statement that was welcoming, that is false.
Mayor, you said it was intentional. That's intentional?
Well, this is what I know. They changed it, so I think they recognized that it was false. But I'm not sure why you would write it in that way and choose to describe the mayor's order as a signal that it wasn't. What it is, as I explained in my situational update the week before, is a framework that we will use inside government to deal during the emergency and after the emergency. And that's a fact. You ask about the timeline. Some of my mayor's orders have end dates, and others are rescinded by a follow-up order, and that's how this one will be dealt with. Yes. Yes.
So there are obviously things in our current situation that the 30 days does not apply to. Like the federal presence here is under that March task force order. The National Guard is its own thing. But what would change with the end of an emergency that isn't renewed is that order put out by the Attorney General, the revised order, I guess, which had 4 directives, 2 of which, at least 2, involved immigration enforcement, directing the MPD to do certain things in advancement of federal immigration enforcement. Do you see, if the emergency is not renewed on September 10th, do you see a specific concrete change in MPD's approach to immigration enforcement or partnership with the feds when that directive expires?
You're right to point out that the Home Rule Charter in this 740, which is implicated, compels me to provide MPD services for a federal purpose. The AG order specifically outlines some requested MPD services related to immigration enforcement, which is a federal purpose. Those expire with the presidential emergency. What we made clear in the mayor's order is there are federal agencies that we work with all the time that help us, whether it's in investigations or high-level crime investigations, that have helped us drive down crime in the city for decades. And our expectation is to work with those agencies. Yes.
2 questions. With the new 13% increase, can somebody say what the starting salary is now just for an officer? And then also you mentioned the signing bonuses and all that. Is that still in effect? And did that seem to be helpful?
Chief, do you want to speak to that? The helpfulness?
Yes, I think certainly the sign-on bonuses are helpful, but it's more than just the sign-on bonuses. We also offered housing assistance. And I think that has certainly been helpful. And then we also utilize the pipeline for our Cadet Corps program that has also been a viable source where our cadets do attend the University of District of Columbia. They earn their 60 college credit hours or an associate's degree, and then they join our Recruit Training Academy. And so that has certainly been helpful. We have also kind of expanded, if you will, our reach with our recruitment team that I stood up in 2024 to ensure that we are also going outside of the District of Columbia and also building a partnership with our military installations in order to ensure that we're recruiting additional officers for the MPD.
And that's all still in place?
That is all still in place, yes.
And we will continue with the chief and her recruitment staff to refine it, change it, update it, increase it, improve it.
Put the starting salary at for an officer?
Let me get that to you exactly. Yes.
Beatrice Peterson, ABC News. So earlier you were talking about your mayor's order that you released yesterday and saying that the emergency ends on September 10th. Can you explain what September 11th is going to look like for people in the district?
I can explain to you that we will continue our focus under the leadership of Chief Pamela Smith, of working with our police officers and deploying across the city as needed. Yes. All right, we're in round 2 now, so this is it.
I'll keep it short, I promise.
Okay.
Mayor, would you mind sharing some of the feedback you've received from the community during this time of some of the federal surge that we're seeing here? I know last week we talked about a change or a stronger collaboration that we learned about between DC as well as the federal surge. Can you talk about the feedback you've received from the community on that?
It has been across the spectrum of feedback. People who are, like me, outraged over the intrusion on our federal autonomy. People who, like me, see protecting home rule and our autonomy as our North Star are saying, keep making the right decisions, the tough decisions, and keep explaining what you're doing to DC residents. I hear from other people, why did you do that? What did you say? And I talk to them about why I did that. I have spent a lot of time talking about the Home Rule Charter, what it requires, and also talking about DC statehood and how that is the only vehicle to us not having an intrusion on our autonomy. And so I've had a lot of tougher questions. I've had questions at every level of government. And so we have worked hard. We stay on the phone. We stay in meetings on keeping people informed of how we're going to get on the other side of this. Yes.
This could go to you or Chief Smith either way. The one thing I've always noticed when the data comes out on overtime is that it's somewhat evenly split between what DC pays and what the feds pay. So, or DC pays a little bit more, but either way, the feds pay a significant component. So you're assuming that MPD police officers are doing a lot of federal work.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a request of the federal government to start ponying up more money, both not just to pay that overtime, but also to maybe they should start hiring police officers or start considering using all the agents that they do have to start taking some of that pressure off of MPD when it comes to federal
We
stuff?
spent a good part of last year focused on, this is Tomas's, one of his favorite topics. Where is Tomas? On EPSF, and that's the emergency fund that is included in our payment. One of the only payments to us that's different than other states, and its purpose is to pay for how we support the federal government. We support the Fed, and the chief can say this better than me. We support them in a lot of ways, including movements of the president, movements of diplomats, First Amendment demonstrations, which we saw First Amendment demonstrations take off after 2020 in this city, inaugurations, all manner of special events that require additional work. We're not complaining about the additional work because we think we do it best. And we want to be able to serve in that role. But there is a cost. And in recent years, the payment hasn't matched what it cost, especially with the inaugurations and the additional protest activity. So we have a request. I think last year we wanted 100. We got to 90. And then the CR issue kind of wiped out that work. This year, we're gonna, it wasn't what it needed to be in the president's mark, and so we're working with the Congress to get it up. We think 90 to 100 million is where it needs to be. Okay, Tom? Yep.
I have a three-part question. Has any of your administration been subpoenaed by any of the Hill House committees to appear on the police stats issue or any other issue? Are you planning to testify anytime soon on the Hill?
No, and we will participate as we are asked.
Okay. You have, at your first press conference almost 2 weeks ago, you specifically singled out ICE and its snatching of people off the streets. You called it a terror and a
Yes.
horror. Have you conveyed that? Most of everything I've seen online, social media, is the objection by citizens and people of this city of how ICE is masked, unidentified, cars not marked, just snatching people off the street. Have you expressed that concern to Bondi, the Attorney General, or to the White House?
Yes, I have. And let me just say a little bit more about that, Tom, because I agree with you. What our residents are, they're concerned about a lot of things, but they're concerned that MPD has been compelled to participate with ICE. This is a requirement of the Home Rule Charter when the president requests MPD services for a federal purpose in an emergency, okay? We gotta get out of the emergency. That's why it's important that you understand that the framework that I laid out in the mayor's order is a pathway out. And we have to be very clear to members of Congress that this is how we will be able to request or receive additional resources, management to the most strategic benefit for DC residents and public safety. And the other thing that is our primary concern is violent crime. How do we get guns? How do we keep people from using guns? How will we continue to drive down carjacking, use of guns, homicide in the city? We've been driving it down for 2 years. That accelerated, and we want it to keep accelerating. So how do we do that? So our deployment and our resources have to be used on violent criminals. And I can't say that the ICE activity is getting violent criminals for the most part.
And if I could finish my final question. You and the chairman started this news conference by talking about the labor agreement with the Metropolitan Police Department. You invited the chairman of the DC Police Union, Mr. I think he's Sergeant, or I'm not sure, Detective Pemberton. He's here in the audience. Was he invited to speak today, or could he speak about the agreement you guys have reached?
He is always, I know, speaking to you and speaking to us and speaking to the chief, and we're going to keep talking. Listen, we're not going to agree on everything, and I can't speak for everybody. We're not going to agree on everything, but we agree on this. It's time for our officers to get their pay raise.
So he's not speaking today?
You see the invited speakers. Okay? Don't be difficult or rude. That's true. I think you had the, okay.
So it's a 13% raise for 25, 26, retroactive to 24. Is there an estimate on the total outlay, what that's
Oh,
going to
Lindsay,
cost?
do you have that number? Or no, the total, do you know the total?
It is 24, 25, and 26, which is why, as we enter into fiscal year 26 in October, the mayor said the totality of the agreement will be effectuated at the first pay increase, because all 3 years will be seen in the first pay bump that officers get. The total outlay is something that we don't know the precise number till we actually run the payroll, because when you run the payroll, your assumptions get much more refined. Our estimates estimate the total cost of it, excluding any retirement implications, at between $200 and $220 million. Oh, can I have one more detail?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. In DC, we are unique, so when we pay for anything, we have to show how I pay for it over 5 years. So when I gave you that number, that is not just the cost of what will be seen in the pay increases, it's the cost of carrying those pay increases forward over our entire financial plan. So it's a 4-year total. So it's not the total amount for the first paycheck that folks get is not that. That's the 4-year total for our whole financial plan. And we put in the budget the ability to pay for the entire financial plan's worth of pay increases for MPD. Now, as context, we have 13 unions that we negotiate CBAs with. 13. Our 2 most expensive are police and teachers. We also have major unions that are with some of our just outstanding civil servants that are also waiting for negotiations and compensation. Fire, teacher aides, principals. At the end of this fiscal year, some of our office workers. So we are eager to be able to negotiate with all the unions. However, things like a CR delay what we can do, and the exiting or the downsizing of our federal workforce has a direct line to the revenues that we actually can use to be able to negotiate CBAs. So that gives you a context of that number, but keep in mind there are 13 unions, and probably once you get to October 1st, probably about 8 of them will need a negotiated new contract.
Okay, last question.
If I could just I have a multi-part follow-up on Tom's question about the investigation into the crime data. Chief Smith, have you or any of your command staff been interviewed by the Department of Justice regarding their investigation into the crime statistics?
We've had a few that, maybe one or two that have been interviewed by DOJ, yes.
Have you personally been
I have
interviewed
not.
yet? Do you know if you will be?
I'm not sure if I am. I will cooperate as I would expect anyone else to do it across the department. Yes, sir.
Mayor Bowser, you've got a lot on your plate, obviously. Congress is back. Yesterday, House Republicans held a press conference. This morning, Senate Republicans will be holding a press conference, all talking about various pieces of legislation they plan on introducing that would have, multiple, everything from blocking the council's secret meetings that the press are not allowed to come to extending the crime emergency and numerous others. I'm wondering about your concern about all those different pieces of legislation you're going to have to fend off. At the same time, you could be facing another CR, and I'm wondering if you know if that's been resolved, that the language won't be the same as in the last CR. And then the budget is still with the Congress for their approval. I don't know when the clock ends on that, their 30-day to approve that, but they could add riders to that. So there's a lot that you will be facing. I know there's a lot in that question.
There's a lot in that question, and welcome to my world, and thank you for pointing that out. It is a complex, but it's a complex world to navigate, and I'm just really proud of my team, and I'm grateful to DC residents for their questions, their comments, their concerns, even the tough ones, for recognizing that we have a lot to navigate. It's important that we keep our eye on the prize, that we maintain our home rule and autonomy, that we deliver high-quality services, that we balance our budgets, that we remain a city where people want to live, work, and grow their families, and we deal with all of the interference that's coming our way. What should remain clear to our residents and become clear to those who are watching us around the nation is that we're different. Sometimes that's good. There's only one DC. But we're different because we don't have senators, we don't have members of Congress voting for us or protecting us, and we're not truly autonomous. And I share it with somebody that people don't know that always about us because we move around the world in a big way. We have a big footprint. We get a lot of important things done. And so people don't realize our vulnerability because we have excelled despite it. And it is a reminder to everyone that to make our democracy more perfect, the citizens of Washington, D.C. have to be fully represented. Thank you, everybody.